last 20 years, man.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go around the room. Andy, you've got some stuff to talk about anyway.
A little bit, but they got back, they mean Centrica, which is the old smart lock, got back with us about putting two registers in the basement. I don't know that it's as evident in the summer when the air conditioning, but in the wintertime, it gets cold down there. So it's 15,800, 15,588 is what it is to put those two in there. So, anyway, then got any objections, I think it's probably needed. And we can add on to the current system that we have, but there were a couple ports left in that manifold in there and capacity, so they're just gonna tap onto what we've currently got to do that. I didn't think that was really too bad. Did you?
No, it's mainly just, most of it's just hardware costs, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Anybody have an opinion that we should do it? We just add it to the current contract and get her done,
Yeah.
okay?
So,
Anything else?
not that I can think of right now, I'll probably think of something in a
I'm gonna segue back
minute.
here. Guys have anything?
You want to go ahead, Jim?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you guys have my monthly report in front of you. July, a little busier than last year. Times are all on par for what I expect. Our back in service was a little extended, but if you look at our destinations, we had several, the Carl, Union, or Regional, so that extends those averages out just a little bit. So nothing, there's a couple outliers in there that might extend that, but overall, I'm pretty happy with those times. Look at our mutual aid intercepts, a little higher for the month. Jeremy's been pretty busy up there, so if he's got his trucks out, we're responding to Chris and back him up, then we've actually been down to Marshall quite a few times lately. I think they're having some staffing issues down there, so. Responding up and down and still covering our area, so I've had extra trucks in multiple days. Thank God the fair is over. Then we got our back to school back to back, so it's been a super busy 2 weeks. We ended up treating about 20 patients during fair week. We had 8 concert night, all very, very minor stuff. I think we ended up transporting 2 all week from the fairgrounds to the hospital. We were able to treat mostly everything out there. Like I said, the 2 that were transported were very minor things. We're starting, school's getting ready to start up, so we're starting our EMT class as well as a first responder class in the high school. Our community EMT class is getting ready to kick off here in a couple of weeks, so we're hearing it. We're going full gear. We'll be extra busy. Call volume has been pretty high the past few weeks, so expect August numbers to be up there as well. I've got a truck that is going off to Missouri this week to get what we call remounted. So they take basically pick the box up, put a new chassis underneath, and completely redo the inside. So it saves a good chunk of change over buying new. I don't know if you guys heard me talk, I've got 2 on order right now just because they're so far out. And when I ordered them, they said they're about between 700 to 900 days out, and they're telling me it's probably going to be closer to the 9. So.
How long does it take to get the one back that you have redone?
Between 3 and 6 months, depending on how much they end up doing with it. This truck is still in relatively good shape. The box is in excellent condition, so honestly, they pulled the box off, they slide the new chassis and rewire everything, so I think that one will be closer to the 3. They peel, they blast it, whatever you want to call it. Put a new coat of paint on it, we'll have it re-graphics, and then I'm hoping to have it back on the road in November. We still have, so the reserve we have now, the one that looks a little different than we were using for education, it is in service, so I've still got 4 functional ambulances ready to go at all times. But operations normal for the most part. Had lots and lots of overtime and investment in the fair, but that was at no charge to anyone but the hospital, so we ate all that cost. But
Questions, anybody?
Yeah, I read the article in the paper that they did about the fair,
Yep.
that tent and everything you had, that was kind of neat.
We put a lot of planning hours into the fair, and I mean a lot of planning hours, and
Mhm.
honestly, I'm luckily we didn't have to use much of what we planned for, but everything, I think it went about as smooth as we could have possibly asked for.
I will insert my comments about it. We got together, what, 4 times? Plus we had a
Yeah.
review afterwards with all the agencies involved. And I've never seen the fair or our different government agencies work together as well and come off with such a good project.
Say
It
the
was not only,
police, the police did a super job, sheriff,
Everybody.
all of them.
Let's say everybody involved, I mean,
They know that.
and Fair Board included, I mean, the volunteers, I was super impressed, Concord and I with the parking, they had volunteers do all the parking, and that was,
I
I
got
mean, it
us
worked
in the
flawless.
bus loads in and out efficiently.
anyway, I told them I was gonna speak to you folks and let you know, and I will do it on Wednesday also, but the cooperation and the working togetherness that everybody had and the feelings were all good. You'd never know that we weren't all brothers and sisters. I mean, it just went off well. Kudos to the fair, to the hospital, to the ambulance, the Northern Edgar County Ambulance Service. I'm afraid to name everybody because I'll forget somebody. And Jill did a good job with ESDA coordinating everything, so it was excellent. We should all be proud.
Anything else from me, guys? I apologize, I got another meeting today, so.
Sorry I didn't get you on center.
No, you're fine, have a good night.
Mr. Neal?
I sent my report to Augie, so hopefully you guys have that. Like Adam, it was a busy month, so. But
We did not get it, and
Okay.
it's not Augie's fault. He's not feeling well, so,
okay,
He can get it to us
yeah,
Wednesday.
we'll have it by
Okay.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
okay. So, but time's been good, so, got a new EMT started today, so. My wife also started, she started about a month ago, so. Added about 33% to the staff, so.
At least you can.
Yep.
Any questions, Jeremy?
Worked well with Adam at the fair,
Yeah.
like everybody else said, everything went very well there, so.
Jeremy, I would suggest that you talk to the students at, I don't know which class, but talk to the students at Christmas and Shiloh. They need all the career awareness they can get.
Yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to go last year and then something happened and Hubert didn't have time for me up there, so I
It's
know.
a new year
Yeah,
up there.
and new principal and new, so, I know Sean had went up there for Horizon and said, hey, we've got this EMT class that we're doing during the school year. I'm not sure if anybody signed up or not, but they were gonna have to come to Paris to do it. So, like I said, I'm not sure if anybody took them up on that or not, so.
Well, there's maybe, it would be in your best interest to do a little funding on that
Yeah,
mileage or something. Maybe there needs to be, they
Yeah.
need to see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. Wyatt, did you have anything you wanted to say? We're gonna be talking about solar here in a minute, but is there anything anything new?
Not anything particularly new. I talked with Lisa quite a bit here since probably Fair Week, I think. And one of the things we talked about was the language that basically too wet to farm, too wet to construct kind of language. We've heard of some instances across the state of guys going, these companies going out when there's 2 inches of rain and making a mess of fields. And, you rut these fields up and it takes 1,000 years to get back to soil capacity. So I tried to find some language on my own, didn't have much luck, and then I talked with lawyers from home office and they found me some language that I passed on to Lisa and we talked about it a little bit, so.
We don't know what we can do with it really,
Right,
but it needs to be in every landowner's contract.
it's a provision that I think would be very good to have in an ordinance. but we both agree, and the home office attorneys agree as well. We're not sure how you'd enforce it quite well. We talked about road use agreement, but if
Yeah.
it's off a road, they're not gonna care.
Yeah, we couldn't find a good place to use it, but it's logical.
Yes. So I'm gonna still work with them in home office and see if we can come up with a spot maybe. But if you guys have any suggestions or anything else you want me to take up that way with them, you know, let me know and we can help get this hammered out.
You will flip across this table to you. You will talk
All
about
right,
the
well-
solar.
You know me and handouts. All right, so, yeah, I got this one.
Thank you.
My brother-in-law, who's on some boards over in Vermillion County, Indiana, forwarded this to me. And it's because of White Construction and those folks over there. They are into providing promotional opportunities. And this Brulitz Creek Solar Farm, which is kind of over around St. Bernice, they've been talking about for quite some time, and I thought it was a done deal. But anyway, so they are having this educational, if that's what they call it, educational opportunity. And I would suggest that we all attend. Now it's tomorrow late afternoon in Clinton at the old high school. But the one that is, the company that is applying to put in the solar farm north of Kansas is not doing an educational event. So this would be your chance to do it, and it is before we vote to approve their application on Friday. So, of course, I'll be there. But, you know, I'm thinking this would be an opportunity to hear some things that may lead you to ask some questions. So, there's that. And then I've been in communication quite a bit with Brian, the contact for the solar farm that they're wanting to put in just north of Kansas. And I had kicked it back to him and told him that we needed some more details to match what's in our solar ordinance to make sure that they were acknowledged and put in writing. And he did do that, so I had told him that it would be on the agenda for Wednesday, and it is, to discuss and approve or disapprove their application. And he and I were communicating this morning. I'll check my email in a minute. He wanted to know if we wanted him to do a presentation, so I said yes. And I told him he'll have to bring his own AV equipment or give us handouts of this PowerPoint. So when I leave today, I'm going to email Cindy Spencer, superintendent over at Kansas. And I've already been in communication. I asked some questions of Kirk Allen in his capacity as the fire chief, and provided him the solar ordinance. And he's been very supportive all along that we ran everything through ESDA and not through our local fire departments, because that is narrowing and it's a bigger picture. Excuse me. So I want to make sure that those two have the opportunity, are aware of the Wednesday morning meeting.
So are your committee recommending approval of this? Because that's what's up on the agenda.
Yeah.
And if they meet the criteria within the
Excuse me.
ordinance,
Yeah. And they have.
they are?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry I had to be not for a minute. I just wanted to hear me coughing.
And I had also included Tara Hopkins from Soil and Water. She is also aware, and I'm sure she knows it's on the Wednesday agenda.
Well, this project is 40 acres.
It's 40 acres, 24 acres actual farm.
So we can use this to, if we've discovered some things we ever look to amend rather shortly, before we get another one, if we,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying we made any errors, but if we've omitted something that we need to tighten up on, this would be the time to do it.
What-
And the wind farm too.
Yeah, and what you missed was I suggested, that's all right, I did the handout,
Right.
and I had suggested that everybody attend that because it's tomorrow night. That might give us the opportunity to learn something that we would ask questions about on Wednesday.
Okay. Do you have anything else to bring before us this morning? Or do you wanna wait?
I'm not sure what should be in closed session versus not.
Well, we're not probably gonna have a closed session this morning, because we have nothing. We're gonna be doing some more checking on some items that we all discussed in closed session this morning with the state's attorney. So, we'll have more information, maybe we can have a closed session after the regular meeting on Wednesday, okay? Unless we need to, I mean, that's up to all of you, but is that all right to do it that way?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine. The only other thing going on is that Jeff and I've been we've been doing demos for HR payroll software. And thanks to UCCI, we got some feedback on 2 different companies. And it's been very good and very enlightening. Unfortunately, Dawn and Augie weren't able to be at the ones this last week, but Pam was. So
She's the main one in
she's
it.
the main, yeah. Pam says we're good, and she's been pretty excited about the options, and especially with her needing and wanting to come out here. And so we are continuing with the exploration. Derek and Vicki from the Sheriff's Office came out, and that was helpful as well. So because their perspective and their needs are a little different than the rest.
Envision that they handwrite everything.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's shocking. It's time they get with the 21st century because we're about a quarter into it, you know.
And we're using, I mean, when I had not my Void Oil, but when I was a manager and general manager and had 250 people, it took me less time to do that than what it takes for her to do our 50 or 60 or 70 people. So it's just,
It's all hand.
well, most of it, yeah. Yeah. And that's what and the price tag on it is reasonable. And out of it, we're also looking to recommend possibly an HR person so that we can consolidate the efforts of several departments down to one area and being more consistent in how we deal with it. Is that correct?
Yeah. Needs to happen. We just gotta come up with mechanics.
Again?
I was wanting to,
Oh,
one
sorry.
thing as to what Wyatt said about like 2-inch range where they go in and don't care about it. We ran into that problem there a few years ago on the tower, you know, that project.
That'd be
We had
also
that
nice.
4-inch rain on Saturday night,
Oh,
and on Monday morning, they were going full force, and of course, a lot of it was on the farm ground that they messed everything up, but they were going on the roads too and tore the ditches and everything else up. They don't care.
that's what
So-
happened in Douglas County.
Right,
That,
so,
that would be the other reason I would bring that
Right.
forward.
so I, you know, if that's something we can
Well,
possibly
that's
address.
kind of goes back to my question about, could you put it in a road use agreement, that you have some repercussion if you trash up the road, because then it is a public safety issue.
Absolutely, but the problem we face is like they're buying 40 acres or leasing from Farmer Fred.
Right.
We can't go in and dictate that.
Right.
That
But
has
that's
to,
kind of backdooring
can it
kind
be
of.
suggested in, we could ask for a plan on how they pretend to approach the landowners,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
Does that, I mean, that would give us the segue in, and we want to see that in agreements to protect the farmer. We can
Right.
ask for that. We maybe can't get in between them negotiating.
Right.
Does that make sense,
Mhm.
Lisa? Or
I'm just thinking, is there some fine you can do if they crash the road?
Well, the
Not
road
bad,
use
I
agreement
Because
should
of
cover
public,
that.
because public safety of mud on the road, that's my,
But who does that? Who's the cop that whistles it dead?
I don't know there.
Is that
Who's
our
the enforcement
assistant?
on
Is that assistant highway engineer? I mean, we need to talk,
And I wouldn't even limit it to just mud. I mean, once it's approved, they're gonna wanna get it built ASAP. So if it's, if it's the spring and the roads are buckling and all that, and they're bringing heavy equipment in, it's not gonna stop
or
them.
summertime.
You're right.
And if it's 110 degrees and they're running 80 tons across some of these roads, they're not gonna last either.
Yeah, the moment this gets approved, they're not making money until those things are operational.
Right.
So they're gonna do everything legally or illegally to get it done.
well, and
Till you
this
stop
is the thing, our trial run here, it's on 49. And where it is, there's not a county road there, cause it's on 49. And
Where that side road?
It's not over by the county line?
No.
no, it is just
No,
Right
it's
on
straight
40.
north.
just
Really?
north of the sign
Kansas.
that's Kansas.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
and so that was a thought I had here recently too, so,
A road use would be a great start to try and keep them honest, and we can keep working on trying to find other ways.
but I'm thinking we may not have a real road use agreement, but we may not have a road in this
Right,
fight.
It's right there.
Fight's not the right word.
wow, so state highways going.
In this
right.
one, probably.
That's above the 23.
Next
Yeah.
one.
It's right in there,
Right.
part of that white
I
right
was,
there.
that made me think, really, you're dealing with 49?
Isn't there a side road? Is there?
I don't know, there's
If-
not a side road from Kansas, and then there's the field, and then there are a couple of newish houses, and I can't remember the farmer. It's like 2 houses there. But there's not a road in there, because it's on the west side of the road.
And you gotta go a half mile north of Kansas to the first road,
Yeah.
Yeah.
back east.
It's right there.
It's
I
right
mean,
there.
it's right on the city line.
Mhm.
So it's not in the actual village then? It's
Just
outside
not
the
that.
village?
But the mile and a half provision's probably still,
Yeah.
Is there a mile and a half division on solar? That's only on one, isn't it?
well, but they can control all construction, whatever it is, by ordinance. They don't need a provision for solar. In other words, they control a lot within a mile and a half.
Okay, I wasn't thinking of impact on solar, I knew about it on wind. Talk to her.
Yeah.
If they have their AMA in place, that would be the other thing.
I'm sorry, what?
Their ag impact mitigation agreement with the USDA, or the Illinois
They
Department
have
of
an
Ag.
Echo Cat, I don't think I know what you're talking about, I don't remember if I read that detail.
They need that. If they don't have it, don't let them. Because that gives you guys a lot of protections too.
Well, are they required to have it?
Yeah.
Well, then it's,
I just don't read, those weren't the details I was looking for this morning.
That's just from my side of things, we want to make sure they have that AMA in place.
okay. Other, Dan?
Not much, I stopped in and talked to Andrew last week, the shelter's full. He says 25 animals and there's no way you can take them anywhere else because all the shelters around are full too, so. So she has to deal with it. She did have a bunch of kittens she was gonna take somewhere, somebody dropped off cats after the shelter's closed, which we're not supposed to have cats, but I'm not gonna take them, so. So she's trying to get rid of them, so.
How old
Other
are
than
they?
everything was all right.
How old are they?
He didn't say, so. But kittens are hard to get rid of anymore. Everybody's got them.
Okay.
That's it.
Russ? Nothing, Carl? Bud? Okay, RFQs, we have 5 firms that have provided us their credentials. we're gonna be setting up interviews. Well, first of all, Andy and Josh and I will be looking at these. If somebody else wants to, we don't wanna get it too cumbersome, but we'll probably boil that down to 3, and then we'll set up interviews with them over the next week or 2, and then have a recommendation for you come the September meeting. Okay, that's where we sit on that. I'm trying to figure out what that means. Okay. Michael is gonna be here for the jail, for the jail. I was trying to think the committee, which we're gonna talk to him about, on the 15th. It's gonna be Monday the 15th at 10:30 right here. That's what, 10:30 right here. And then they'll make time for us to go down to the courthouse, take a look at the elevator. He'll have an engineer in tow. I did take the opportunity later the day that we met and talk to them about the issues that we saw. And they got back to me the next day and said, it works. It works, and they think it would fit in, and that they could make it architecturally acceptable using some of the stone and so forth there. But if we're willing to look at it, they stopped Core from moving forward on some things till we made a decision. There was no sense in spending money on that if we didn't need to. So I wanted to let you know there. So 10:30 right here on the 15th. Prospect Bank, we do have 9.9675 million in the bank, and we're gonna meet later with them, Don, by phone, figuring out how to invest and ladder that investment so we have the money when we need it. So I'll let you know about the rate hopefully by Wednesday. The other rate that I gave you earlier with some of the investment firms is not as smooth and seamless as you think. In other words, they have, say, like several CDs, and you have to kind of get your place on there. So you might miss out on 4 or 5 days. Even after you get a CD, you'd have to hit right. Plus, we'd have to have about 40 CDs, because they won't give you any over 250. All right, so at any rate, we're gonna work it out. Eric said, the Prospect Bank said that they would work it out. They would also probably extend the idea of no penalty if we needed the money, okay? In other words, say if something popped up or some opportunity and we needed, yeah, then they would work with us on that.
Because all CDs same time, so we get the same.
Well, that's the
interest rate
ladder.
on all of
ladder.
them.
No,
Pardon?
Some would be, 90 days, some would be a year, some would be,
yeah.
They get different.
We don't wanna go out
interest rates on-
very long because the
Right.
trend is up, but we wanna make sure that it makes sense, okay? It's still gonna be a decent rate, okay? So, I know I'm probably forgetting something, but it's with the treasurer and the county clerk both out with illness, it's making it a little bit more tenuous as me popping around and getting everything done. Augie was in the office briefly yesterday afternoon late, and we've got the agenda reworked, so everything is going fine there. But that's about it. Oh, tax bills went out today. All right. Oh, whoopee. Does anybody have a question with me or anything? All right, motion to adjourn. Andy moves. Russ seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. You know, what I didn't do
Thank
is
you.
looked over the agenda, but I think oh,
The number 11,
yeah, 250 grand. And it's kind of like paying Peter and Paul. We budgeted about 450,000 to get from the recovery. It still becomes available for us to use. But it does reimburse us for things and follows the guidelines. You know, if we need to augment the courthouse or anything going on in the courthouse, we still can.
so what is this money? Is it money we've
Already spent,
and do you know what those items?
mostly payroll,
Okay,
mostly payroll.
all right.
Okay, and to and including when people had COVID. Okay, and as far as the policy, we're gonna discuss it, but there'll probably be no action, so it'll just expire,
Okay.
all right?
Someone asked me about that the other day, if we were gonna do something, I said, we briefly talked about it, but I don't remember.
Well, we can talk about it. If we don't do anything to expend it, or extend it, it just expires,
Yeah.
okay? Yes,
What about the elevator, what's going on?
okay, well, we can talk about it. Can you kill, hey, Josh, can you kill that, please? It's not even off the
Drugs
record.
or something.